Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Weekly WAYPN. I'm Cal.
And I'm Sunny.
AKA
Henry and Sangita.
Today, we got Ashley, my main man. After 15 years. 15 long years.
We're gonna do the, what is that called? The SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh, yeah.
15 years later. And
Yes.
Yes. I will be writing down notes on memes that I must include.
Yes. So we must, so that's the meme that you must add to him as a comment now.
So if you hear any scribbling in the background, it's just me taking down notes on memes to add in. So, let's take a look at what he's done. So he says, first attempt at painting a whole lot of figures in 15 years. I'm pretty happy how they turned out. Just need to base them up and come up with a team name.
Okay, so first off, he's painting up Chaos Dwarves, which have like a kind of Babylonian look, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with them is they're sort of like evil dwarves, essentially.
Oh.
And anyway, I won't go too much into the background lore of them, but what I really like is he's got these centaur dwarves here, right? Mm-hmm. And they're both visually distinct as models, but he took the time to make them very visually distinct as a part of his team. So they've still both got the red armor, right? So he's got the red braces and the red armor underneath here, but not as much on the rest of his body. The whole thing is you can tell immediately with the blue. But I do feel that the blue is quite shiny, don't you?
I feel like the whole piece was very shiny. That's what I thought when I first saw it.
Maybe he's hit it with like a varnish because they're going to be game pieces.
Perhaps, because I thought they looked very metallic. Like the blue, I thought it was like a blue colored metal or red colored metal, and then you've got the centaur. That's a centaur, right? A brown guy. And I thought maybe they might be like mechanicum pieces.
We'll see, like
dwarves always messing about with robots and things.
Yes. I understand what it is that you are saying. But yeah, I can see why you would think that. But the things that I would like to point out is just how he's taken the effort to consider the game.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to make sure that every member of your team within the game pieces are distinct, because sometimes some games will have rules, like in Frostgrave, when someone is very critically injured, they're dead. They can't revive them back with a dice roll. You need to buy a new member for your league or whatever. And what happens when that happens? You know, you need to replace people. They all have to be distinct, and when you're on the board, you need to be immediately able to tell who is who, especially when the models look the same.
Yes, and see, that's the thing, right? You take a look at a lot of these models, and he's taken the time to make sure that each of them do have that level of difference. So, for example, a lot of the linemen here have these sort of very T-pose sort of look, right? But either he's done some posing or he's taken the time to make sure the ones with the closer coloration, with the closer look are distinctly colored, which I think is really cool. But so as for follow-ups, okay, he's got a lot of color here, but for me, I think that because a lot of them are more sort of muted colors, right? Like the beards are white and you got the steel and all of that. I think that they'd really pop on the classic Blood Bowl bases. You know, give me a message if you want a hand with that, or just follow the video that we've got. Should you just pop a message on that one and just send the video to him?
If I have the link.
All right, we'll find it after this. But yeah, we'll pop that onto your thing, and like I think once you do that, man, they're really going to pop, because I think that they're quite nice. But before you do, I think because we both pointed it out, the sort of shininess, maybe hit them with a matte varnish.
Yeah, that is if they are not like that metallic finish that you're going for. But if it is what I think it is and it's just color, then yeah, I think a matte varnish will definitely give you that, bring it back down to the texture that it's meant to be.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we've got Joseph Mallon. And he's been working on this King model. And the thing is, we're going to be skipping over these ones until we get over to his last one. We'll read them out and we'll take a look at some of the pictures. But essentially, we're not going to go over it because he's got more posts and we want to take a look at the
Yeah, but
product.
I do like how he's done his new format of posting where he kind of goes through the step-by-step process.
Yeah.
Talks about all the paints that he used. Maybe because I'm biased.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
So he said, the gold is done, but I'm going to have to fix the red that it contaminated. I think that I need to paint the inner sleeve poking out by the hands.
I think the long pieces. Is that the long pieces, like the little triangle bits?
I don't know, but sorry, I just lost my paint. But I am not words. Can you take over for me at the moment?
Okay, so you want me to read the comment? This one. Okay. The gold is done, but I'm going to have to fix the red it contaminated. I think I need to paint the inner sleeve poking out by the hands of different color and perhaps match the inner collar to this. I'm thinking white, but I'm not sure. The skin will be white human flesh with a green edge to it. Any thoughts on a sleeve color? You could actually go for the green to match that whole green skin look that you're going for. But like a very rich green, like an emerald green or something.
Well, let's take a look once he's gotten there. Patrick Cunningham, painted for a friend, prime black to start. So let's take a look at these bad boys.
I think I'll have to take a look on your computer for this one, just because it's in a different orientation.
Alright, so how do I do the flippy? Oh, I've actually got a program for this. Flip this, so what do I want to... -90?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Alright. They are very stark in their colorations. But, like, that's not a bad thing. As discussed on our last post on this one of the things that James talked about was the 3-foot rule. And as I keep coming back to, one of the best painted models I ever saw was this Minotaur until I picked it up and looked at it closer and the illusion was broken. But while I was looking at it, it looked amazing. And see, that's the difference between being 3 feet and 3 inches away. But yeah, I can see like the colors are quite stark, but they work as game pieces 100%. So let's take a look at the next one. I think once again we're going to have to take a look here. I think these are the same dudes from a different angle.
I think I've very much seen this style of painting before, where they do very nice coloring, very nice dry brushing, but then you use a wash that's a little too dark, and then it kind of gives it a very
I'm not sure if
different look.
I'm not sure if it's a wash or if he's just like done very sort of quick highlights, right? He's not gone into it.
I'm looking mostly at the fur of the blue wolves. I
think that's just a dry brush. I don't think that there is any sort of wash there.
Well, if it is, I think maybe the choice of the base color is a bit too dark for that.
I get what you're saying. But I think what he did was essentially prime black, and he used that as his shadows. Mm-hmm. And I think in some areas it looks really good. Like this guy over here, I really like. Like, I think everything works on him for the most part. I think it works on the wolves, but I probably would have done like a second dry brush even for game standard, just like a lighter one so that you've got some variation in color. But like I said, they work for game pieces. There's nothing wrong with them. But okay, so we will do our classics. What he did right.
What he could improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think he got these out pretty quickly, judging by that, and that's what you want for game pieces. I think that all of the colors contrast well. You know, the orange against the blue.
The color choices are very nice, very cohesive as well.
Right.
They're not fighting each other.
I think what he did wrong, like you said, too dark.
And I think he could, step up in terms of trying a little bit of shading for the face and
I think
the hair.
Just with the face and the hair, right? If he's just trying to churn them out, maybe just a wash on the face,
Yeah.
Nothing too fancy, right? But I do think for the wolves, definitely a second dry brush. So that's, what he did right, what he did wrong, and where he can improve.
Yes.
All right. So next up, who do we have?
The Martin Neal.
Martin Neal.
Martin
You
Neal,
wanna
the
start
Navy
reading?
SEAL. Yes. So we have, I'm back home now after the Easter break and have spent my time trimming the flash and priming the models for my commission. Oh, how can you reprime them? Okay. The black primer on them already makes for a great zenithal effect. I can't wait to get painting proper.
So he started off with a black undercoat.
Oh, okay.
He re-primed them, probably because when he got off all the flashing, it got rid of the stuff on them. So yeah, it looks like a whole lot of D&D-esque sort of guys. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that turns out, man.
Yeah.
And we're really glad to hear that you got commissions and that things are moving along for you, my dude. We're happy to hear that.
Yeah.
But as it's just a work in progress and there's not much there, we'll move on.
Yeah.
All right. Good luck, Martin. All right. So I will say one thing about this next one before you read out. So me and Joseph and I, if I'm going to be correct, we had a conversation about eyes, and I think he said that basically nobody ever gave him a hard time about it, and I usually don't give people a hard time about eyes, but I just saw how good this model was looking.
Yeah, and it was just like, wow! And then after that, you zoom in and then you see, oh.
Yeah.
It's like the eyes, unfortunately, for this piece, really ruined the entire sinister vibe of the model.
Yeah, because he's like,
the record scratch.
Yeah,
There you go.
Alright, you want to read out the comment?
I've got my wet palette out and in use at last after recent conversations here. White and flesh done. He should be finished today. How are these eyes? Deep forest skin pupil on white skin eyes. No white involved once again.
Well, I think he does a lot better, but what I really loved... Oh, hold up. Is it this one? I think... It's in
the comments somewhere on one of the pieces
but
where
I think Alan made a whole post on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
he made a separate post about the eyes.
Yeah, and I absolutely love him for that. What a champion. All right, but then let us scroll up and we get to see the finished product. So let's take a look.
Shall I read?
Yes, you may.
The Tyrant for Kingdom Death Monster is finished. I've spent the last few hours preparing some terrain for painting for Marvel. 27 pieces, I think. Should keep me busy for a while. I'm hoping simplicity and an airbrush will make quick work of most of it. Mm-hmm. Well, let us take a look at this boy.
I think that the eyes are just so much better here.
Yeah, it did get a bit janked up on the other one.
But see, this, right? This is, we're up very close. So even here, even with this distance, right? Which is super close still, right? They look quite good.
Yeah, from far, which is mostly the distance.
But I mean,
that's not.
This is not that far. This is only a few inches away. This distance right here. this distance right here, that's not that far away. That's like got to be what, 3 inches or something like that?
That's not 3 inches.
Yeah, from the camera.
Oh, from the camera,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, so I think that is really, really good. I think that's amazing. But yeah, taking a closer look at them, right? So there could be some improvement there, but I mean, I know these Kingdom Death models, and I know that their head is about maybe the 10th of the size of my pinky nail.
Oh.
You know, you've seen the heads, right? Like you saw that one where I had the...
That one was the Blood Bowl one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
very tiny.
here's what I'll do. Actually, you know what? I'm probably exaggerating. But what I will do is up here somewhere, I've got my Blood Bowl ones. And I'm just going to go to that and I'm going to see if I've got that picture in there. And hopefully that will give an idea of how do I see all of them. View post, how do I make it so that, oh my god, I'm bad at this, guys. I'm very bad at this. No,
I think on desktop you can't do it the same way. So if I go to your post with my mobile view, maybe I can see something. Okay, let's see here.
No, maybe it's one of my previous posts.
Yeah, I think one of your previous WIP posts was the one that had the little head on the nail guy.
Yeah. No, I can't see it here. Oh well. But anyway, the point I wanted to make with that was this, that you got to realize just how tiny these heads are, right? And you know, I think he did a really good job. And the reason why I talked to him about it is because, in my opinion, everything else here, right, is looking amazing, right?
Oh, especially that basing is amazing.
Well, yes, the basing looks very nice. That's some bark and, you know, turned into a rock, that sort of thing. I really like everything about it because it almost makes it look as if the natural environment is subject to his will.
Yeah.
Because it makes it look as if this base is turned into a set of stairs for him, even though it's just a rock, you know? And it sort of builds on that sinister vibe.
And I do kind of like the flowers and the terrain matches the same colors as him. Almost like, after you've mentioned that, almost like he's controlling the environment to match his theme.
Or like the environment is sort of bent to his will. It's not like he's controlling it. It's just like...
his aura be controlling things.
Yeah. So I think he did his eyes pretty well. Like, I think they can be brought in a bit, but like, I think that compared to where Joseph has been for the majority of time, I think that this is a massive step up. And the other thing is, the only reason I gave him a hard time is because everything else here is so fantastic. Like, take a look at this, you know, Alan, quote unquote, gave me a hard time. But about, you know, giving consistent highlights, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But look how consistent the highlights are here, right? You can see where things are hitting. You can see where it's going into darkness. You know, the golds come out really well. And you've also got to realize that he's working with that small hindrance of like all synthetic brushes. But you take a look at like the way the gold, I think he's doing true metallic metal here, is just come up so well. I really like it. You know, there is, and like there, look at that. That's just beautiful. Like,
I will say that there is a little bit of spillover with the red on the ones on the cloak. But I mean, that's to be expected. But the gold, whatever filigree background thingy he's got going on, a halo, that one came out so good.
Yes, I agree.
Fancy schmancy.
But I think like you see it best right here, where you see like all of the highlights come together.
That's very nice.
But yeah, I think you did really well. Okay, so let's hit our pieces, right? So what can he do better? He can keep working on his eyes.
He can keep working on his eyes.
And I think that seeing the difference between this and his previous ones, I think that's it. What he did well,
the detail work.
Pretty much everything else. I love the skin. I think the skin has such a great but subtle contrast against the red, which is just, very intense.
I do like the choice of that sort of cream white inner sleeve that he was talking about earlier with the red. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But yeah, like the highlights, everything else, you can be a bit more
neat there, but it's no big deal.
Yeah, like pretty much for me, I think the only thing that you need to really improve is your eyes. And like, I think, as Sonny said, that'd be the thing you did badly, and the thing you can improve is the eyes. Alright, let us move on.
It seems...
Like a salad.
Yes.
Like a salad. Let us move on. So, I just quickly wanted to say on this one, I used to work in a plastics factory, and we essentially just use what you got on the sprues, except just shredded through a machine. So, if there's a local plastics factory, give them a call and just ask if they would like some ABS plastic sprues. And hopefully you can recycle local. And yes, I will be the tiniest bit political there. I like recycling. I think it's good for us. Calvione suggests a video on how to do some terrain. And next up, we've got some more by Calvione.
And he says, Necromancer by Drew at Satyr Art Studios.
Okay, let's take a look. So, here we are.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I do quite like the way he's approached the greens and such.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see that he's continuing to, stick with the contrast paints and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the skin for the Green Witch does look a bit sort of how do I say this?
Sallow?
What's sallow mean?
Like a bit yellowish.
No, it's not so much the color. I think it's the way that the details are brought out because of the contrast paint, because you can see like tide markings and things like that.
Well, see, I don't think it would be a problem if he just did one thing. If he just hit the eye with an off-white.
Yeah, like if you actually did the eye, I think it has almost like your painting style almost replicates like a watercolor painting. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. And I think you have sort of improvised or I wouldn't say necessarily improved the way you use contrast paint. It's more like
definitely improved his camera work.
Yes, I think you have a particular style. Like you kind of move the direction rather than sort of improve. It's not like it's a bad thing. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's just different, and that's quite interesting. It looks like something out of a fairy tale book in my.
Well, so all I would say is bad. I don't think that I don't like the basing.
The base, yeah.
Because it's just add something to the base.
Maybe it's not there yet. Like he's not gotten to that step yet.
As far as I can see, it's just announced, so I'm going to treat it as if it's finished, right? But so I would say bad is bad base.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's no base. I'd say what can you improve? I'd say the eye. I'd say what did you do well? I actually really like the dirty green, because it has like that whole swamp witch vibe. I know it's a necromancer, right? But what I'm saying is it's got that vibe of sort of, the person who's come out of, the slums sort of thing.
Yeah, like the sludge of death.
They're not somebody who lives in the posh part of town. and like they've come out with like this, you know, staff made of bones, and there's everyone just like, you're going to take down the property values, aren't you? But yeah, so I think like, for me, I don't mind the dirtiness. I do think that the base, you know, wants some basing. And other than that, I think he did pretty well, because it's obviously he's just going for game standard or tabletop. We're going to talk about that later, but yeah, so I think we've gone over everything.
I would say that for Cal, I would like to push him to try using more layer paints and blending techniques rather than constantly going back to contrast paints.
Well, there is one thing. Judging by Cal's crowd, you know, Cal might be older, so he might not be able to have that same level of control that he used to have. So there is that to consider.
Okay.
But I do think that layering, yeah, like trying out some layers, I think that's definitely an idea. All right. Next up, and once again with Joseph's stuff here, he's posted up 3 posts. So what we're going to do is we'll comment on this one, take a look at the pictures, and then quickly move on, because he's got more stuff down the road.
Updated on this piece. So I've got the week off to relax, get house stuff done, and hobby like mad. So I'll likely end up spamming the channel with whip pics. Here's today's work. Done a whole lot of priming and some painting. Tomorrow the airbrush comes out to do a lot of heavy lifting on this mess.
All right, let's just take a quick look at what he's got.
He's got some traffic lights.
Oh, wow. I tell you what, like, it's pretty close off just from the start, isn't it?
I do really like how he's done the traditional lampposts here.
Yeah.
It's got a very gritty metal look right off the bat, and I think it looks great.
Yeah. All right, so next up, we've got Cian.
Yes, and here's an update on his Black Templar.
Yep.
So, don't know what happened. Facebook booted me from the group. Well, there's brother Maldus, nearly done. Just waiting for payday to finally get some Valhalla Blizzard. The flames are my first time trying it. Thank you, Imperium, for instructions. Since my last post, I've finished 2 more brothers and the Castellan from the kit, which I will upload photos. Same scenario as Maldus, needs basing.
Alright, let's take a look.
He's come out really good, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, so what I particularly liked was the flames. I think the flames have come up very nicely. Now, he says this is deliberate right here, the tide marking sort of thing. But I think the thing that he doesn't get when we say tide markings and all of that sort of thing is it's just too dark. Like, we get that you want things to be darker, right? We understand that. But what we're saying is this, right? That with things going on, it's not working as intended.
It's because the color is a cream color, right? So the shadow color that goes into the recesses would not be a very dark brown like that, or like a tan brown like that.
See, like, I think if you did that, right, just did that twice,
I think you would get a better result on that, yeah.
With the shadows, yeah.
And maybe just trying to wick off a little bit with the tip of your brush to try to get a more smooth finish.
We'll see, yeah, like, essentially, I get what he's saying, right? He wants that area to be darker because it's further into the folds. But I think, like, you can see that his controls really, you know, stepped up. Like, right here, I really like this. See how he's gotten, like, just the classic, you know, highlights there? That's very nice.
Yes, and I think he really enjoys the fact that the fire has come out the way that he wanted.
No,
because that was the feature piece he really wanted to focus on.
And so I talked about that, and like I think it's come up really well. Here, I'm gonna take a look at some of the other pictures. This is another thing I actually really liked the way the cloak came out.
Yeah, the cloak looks so fantastic.
Because I think it just came together really well. So I'm going to take a look at the cloak for a hot second.
The edge highlighting came out really nicely.
Well, see, like, The edge highlighting, yeah, I think the edge highlighting, that is some... I won't... Okay, so let's get to our feedback part. What he did right. So 100%, I think that he did the flames really well.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say is within the more intense areas along here, you could put lighter colors.
Okay.
And then, the darker colors towards the exterior. So he's got those little black tips, right? But you can probably, instead of going straight to a black tip, you could probably go like a very dark brown, then to a black. Because...
So there's that transition between the red and the black.
Yeah, because you can see how, like, in this one, I think it works a bit more, but in this one, a bit less. But, like, that's being very nitpicky, and the reason that I'm being nitpicky is because, like, I think he did it really well, and I think he can continue to do that effect really well. It seems like something that, he
could take it up a notch with the level of standard that he's going on.
Yeah, and I think, like, it will look quite good. So, what I think badly... I think the tide marks, right? And what he did well, obviously the flames. And even though, I did a bit of picking on them, I think the whole thing is they came out just so nice.
And I think he did a lot of paying attention to detail.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what makes it really good.
Yeah, and so with these highlights, see how you got these highlights here with that little strap that's there? I think they look a lot better than these ones because I think they're a bit too thick, right? Having them this thick isn't necessarily bad, but what I think is if you do that, you want to have another highlight within that highlight.
Yes, you should maybe do one more set of highlight because like folds, the way that light hits a fold, a raised fold, especially with that sort of... tightness, it will be very thin.
Calvin's really good at doing that, the highlight within the highlight.
Yeah.
Alright, but let us move on, my dude. Alright. So next up we got you.
Who's that?
We got you. And
yes.
You want to read it out?
Here is my progress for the stretch goals nubbles. This was my first time using plastic glue to do assembly. Actually, first time even doing assembly. A new step in learning the hobby for me. After doing this, I get why dudes love this hobby so much.
Yeah, we in fact even did up a podcast that because like now you've sort of gone through the whole process of doing it. You sort of did it in reverse order.
Yeah, I started out with the painting, and then I learned how to do the priming and the airbrushing, and then I learned how to do the cutting and scraping from the sprue, and then only now I learned how to do the assembly.
Yeah, so it's a bit backwards, but I think you've done really well.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you.
Oh, this is the next one. This is
Yes. All right. So do you want to read this one out for us?
Yes.
And what I'll do is on the screen, I'm going to bring up this image so that people can look at the image. Oh, geez. She big. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start reading. Sangeeta shared Henry Graham's great process for painting eyes. However, that method does require a lot of brush control because you have to carefully paint tiny details. There is another method that I usually teach either newer painters or people who struggle with brush control for really fine details. In this method, you are basically painting the negative space instead of painting the eye. That is, you paint everything that isn't the eye. The only downside of this method is you have to paint the eye first, which means washes on the face, if you use them, must be done very carefully so as to not get them in the eye socket. But the plus side is you never get the staring eyes that can occur when you try to dot the eyes. Step 1. Glob an off-white paint into the eye socket. Don't worry about being neat with it. It can get all over the place. Step 2. paint 2 black vertical bars. You can paint them any place you want to have the model's eyes facing in any direction you want. In the example, I have them looking off to the side. Again, don't worry about getting on the face. Step 3. Paint the base or shadow color of the skin up to the edges of the eye. This defines the eye's shape and covers up your sloppiness in earlier steps. Ooh. At 28/32mm scale, you can stop here and it will look pretty darn good. If you feel brave and if the eyes are big enough, you can do the white reflection dot as a step 4.
And this is something that I'm going to bring up. So, in my opinion, I have pretty good brush control. You'd say I'd have pretty good brush control. I have these little lenses on a sort of
it's
head.
like a magnifying glasses.
Yeah, so I wanted to get up these guys, right? The thing is with what Alan's saying here, right? These guys, I didn't even bother doing pupils because when you take a look at how tiny their eyes are compared to the rest of their body, it's not even close.
Yeah, you don't even see it at the whatever distance that you are looking at the models at.
Yeah, exactly. And like that is very much an issue. And so like that's why I didn't give Joseph a hard time for so long, because I thought he's just trying to get stuff out and I didn't realize the level of effort he was putting into the eyes, right? But he's just got some shakes and that sort of thing, and he's like, I want to make sure that I get them as good as I can. But I hope that this helps with Joseph and everyone else. And see, here's the thing about WAYPN, right? We want to help you hit your goal, not our goal, right? And that's why when I was talking about down here with Cal and the eyes, right? And I was talking about how I think you were actually talking about the dwarves earlier, the dwarves which were riding the wolves. I was talking about how maybe he didn't have the control that he once used to have. But yeah, so I want to say big thanks, Alan, because this is amazing. And I think even people from outside of our community came in and took a look at this and they really enjoyed it. You know,
it was just a type of tidbit that we never even considered doing it this way. Mm-hmm. And it seemed so logical to do it this way.
Yeah. And like when I saw this, it even made me want to write an article about it. And guys, you might have noticed that I haven't been writing articles. Unfortunately, life has thrown a lot at us and we haven't been able to keep up. We're trying our best though, guys.
Yes.
All right.
So, we're moving on to our Mr. Joseph Mellon once again.
Yes.
And this is more update on his much costly prices. Yes. Nothing is finished yet, but I'm making great progress on this MCP terrain bundle around games of Australian tax offenders. The rubble is ready for pigments and varnish, and the lamp posts and crossing lights need the paving finishing before they're done. The bins just need varnishing. That's 15 pieces basically done. I don't think the 4 dumpsters will take long either. Sounds like he's almost finished with the entire set.
You know, taking a look at the cars, they look like actual cars from a factory. With
like when they do the spray, overspray before they take out all the masking tape. It does.
And you saw this and you're like, so cute.
It's a little bulldozer boy. And I was telling Henry that like the moment I saw this, and because I see the green car coming through the window in the back, my brain was like, that's Oscar from Sesame Street driving the bulldozer. You know, that's what I thought immediately.
All right, but we will move on. Okay, so it's me. It's Whip Wednesday, and okay, so first off, I would like to acknowledge my mistake and fess up to it straight off. So I broke our rule and didn't say what I was aiming for. So I should have said that my aim were character level models and my aim is to make my client happy. He loves teals and he wants minis that pop. So that's the big thing there. Oh, and guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Sunny put some extra work into it. Yes, she's doing a little shake dance.
Yes.
Not realizing that, no one can see any of this. But I'm really proud of how these guys turned out. And I'm just going to have a quick look through while
a trip down memory lane.
While Sunny gives some commentary.
Yes, I think actually was quite happy because I helped him out with this commission a little bit.
Well, yeah, you did. You did like some of the brass trim when I was at the end with the helmets, was it?
Yeah, I got to do the helmets, and then he did all the detailing after that.
Yeah, so you
tried to do some base paints. Yeah, like base paints a bit.
But it was good just having the base colors put on. And, I really liked doing up, just the classic Norwegian skin. And I also really did love doing up this guy right here, the wolf, so that he looked much more wolfy.
Yeah.
I don't know how it came off, but I hope that it came off much more wolfy.
Yeah, I think because the skin color's a bit more sort of brownish.
Yeah.
I think it'll come off looking more wolfy.
All right, so, but yeah, I was really happy with how they turned out. But this is the big thing. This is the one that I absolutely loved, and I'm going to go into it for just a hot minute.
Ooh, there are pictures and such.
Yes. Alan gave me some really, really great feedback. And I have to say, I absolutely love it. Because, I got all of this, really good praise. And, I talked to Alan and I'm like, oh, if you've got any feedback. And as Alan does, he doesn't just do it just by a bit, does he? Alan just goes all out every time, doesn't he?
Yes.
So I want to say a massive thank you, Alan, and everyone in the group. Feel free to criticize us. Feel free to critique our works, to give us feedback, because that's what this group is about. It's about improving everyone and improving them based off their goals, not off your goals. So, if somebody's trying to churn out a whole lot of tabletop stuff, don't judge it as if they're trying to go to an award show.
Yeah.
And so on. And I think Alan just hit the nail on the head here. So I'm just going to quickly read out his feedback because it was absolutely fantastic. The shoulder pad is like a cylinder. It will reflect light like a cylinder, but you painted it more as if it's a flat surface. So to be fair, on the other side, it's a lot darker.
Okay.
You remember these, don't you?
Yeah. You usually paint them a bit darker on the back end with the light.
Yeah. So this was meant to be sort of my highest area, because I sort of have the light as if it's coming from this way.
Yeah.
Up and...
Usually I do take pictures of a model from all angles, but when it comes to Blood Bowl teams and the teams are pretty large, I have stopped doing that. So it is a bit difficult for you to judge exactly how Henry has done
but
lighting.
that's okay. That's okay. We might have some pictures somewhere, but we'll figure that one out. Actually, mate, you know what? No. Where did what
light source would create deepest shadows like this on the top surface of the muscle?
Okay, and to be fair, I said the light's coming from this way, so it should be a lot lighter, but I want things to really pop, to just, and that's what my customers really like, when things just jump off the table, sort of thing. Okay. it would not happen from top-down light source, possibly from side, but you haven't painted this model as... Yeah, okay, so actually, this is sort of the angle that I was going for, Alan, and if that helps. But yeah, I definitely have to cop all of his stuff on the chin. But there are some things where I get what he's saying, but I reject it. And what I want you guys to see is like, you can take criticism on and you can reject it. It's okay. So he said human flesh is pretty reflective, so you need the spots. Looks a little too flat right now. So like he'd want much more sort of like almost going into a white right here. You know, as if like it's reflecting the light sort of thing. And so I get that, right? But often on the tabletop, when we talked about verisimilitude, the thing is that some of the times what comes off on the tabletop and what doesn't. The thing is, I could do that. I very much could do that. But the amount of time it would take would be significant. So I get what he's saying.
Yeah, I guess there's certain considerations when it comes to commission pieces as well. Yes. Because like sometimes customers want a certain look, and then you have to, you know, factor that in, and then you also have to think about time.
Yeah. And so
all these are valid though. All these are valid
feedback, for sure. And he says you're creating visual interest spot for a gaming model that pops on the tabletop, but it's not realistic. 100%. He's 100% spot on right there. Okay. Yeah, and so the other thing he says here, right, I painted the top facing parts as the same as the down facing parts, and I just have to cop that one on the chin. You know, like I think I really needed to work on the shadows there. And the other thing is, what I am afraid of with some of the times is that it won't pop as much. And the other thing that I'm afraid of is that, you know, like I've sort of got my classic formulas for, you know, these kinds of skins, and I think they work, but I think he's right. I've got to be more adventurous. Okay, so when he was talking about stepping things up, he also showed off this model, so I'm just going to open that in the side image thingy. Have you considered stepping up your game, identifying where you want your viewer to look? Now, see, this is the big difference. So, like I said, the light is coming from this angle, like that's how I'm imagining it, and that's often how you sort of shoot the things, right, from their brightest point. And you do, you know, we got the raw pictures and sent some to him, and he said, you know, like it wouldn't change my feedback, but I have to agree with him, like this here, like right here along there should be a lot darker, right? Because it should be in the shadows. Like up here and along there I'm fine with, and right here I'm fine with, but he's 100% spot on about that. But I did try and take his advice about the hair and tried to make the I think the highlights within there, the reflective highlights in the middle. And like I think that comes off in this black and white picture here, but I think with basically everything else, he's 100% spot on. Have you identified where you want the viewer to look? For example, the model doesn't have a lot of variation in value, brightness. It reads pretty flat. Look at the black and white version to see this better. So that leaves the color. And see here, right? I think he'd say, like, on the mug, you know, I've done it well, I've done it properly. But pretty much with the exception of down here underneath the armpits, I pretty much haven't. And, like, the thing is, like, if I just took the arm, maybe I'd be okay, right? But then all of this, like, pretty much all of here is too well lit sort of thing. And like I should have definitely shadowed this area a lot.
Well, let's take a look at the final comment, shall we?
Oh, yeah, no. So this was just him giving an example of how to show visual interest. Here we go. I'll open up the image because that one didn't seem to come up that well. Yeah, there we go. Much better. So this is the brightest point, right? And it comes down and like you see that their skin's very reflected. There's that white sort of reflection I was talking about, and like very dark shadows, all of that sort of thing. And maybe like even though it is character level and time is a consideration for me, maybe I just got to start putting more work in.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, you can always improve your standard.
You can. Know? And the reason, guys, I wanted to take the time on that is I wanted to show you guys, even though I'm very proud of this piece, that you can take on feedback. You can reject something and you can accept other things, and it's important to be able to have that sort of ability to take it on and have that ability to accept and reject, but
have a sense of critical analysis.
Yes,
which is also why the word criticize comes from this critical. So it's like your critical analysis of a piece. So it works both ways, not just from the critiquer or critic, critic, but also the person that's receiving the critique.
Yes.
Both of the people.
But I want to say massive thank you to Alan.
Yeah, like this, some of the times people see, oh, he's a commissioner, he knows what he's doing, and then it's like no one knows how to properly feedback their work. Every time they get something that they may not be as well versed in the painting and the techniques as much as someone who's really been in the field, right? Someone who's been doing it really long time, an artist that has all the sort of knowledge of all the 3D light and things like that I learned when I was in college as a graphic designer and stuff like that, right? They'll just look at a nice piece and go, oh yeah, that's nice, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it, But you never really know how you could reach your next zenith, right? Yes. And people are always looking to reach the next height, which is what makes things worthwhile, right? And it is always nice when we get feedback, detailed feedback like Alan's, and you just feel very proud of yourself to know, oh yeah, I didn't consider that, Anyhow, I've talked too much. CN Williams, and he starts off with a good WAYPN morning, and he says, good morning, WAYPNers. I'm back and it's Whip Wednesday. So now Facebook stopped being idiotic, removing me from groups. I'll show what I've been working on. My Black Templar sword brethren, 4 and Castellan with autoplasma. Forgive a lot of blotched details. I'm still learning patience, but I improve with each model. As you can see on
Sonny keeps saying that to me too.
As you can see on the Castellan's autoplasma, I tried to do a muzzle burn and failed, I feel. Looks too thick. And for 2 of the swords, I tried to follow Imperium Magazine Burning Blade from Gilliman Guide and went overboard in my opinion. Think the only flames that worked were Almaldus. It's pronounced Almaldus?
Let's give me a sec. Where are we? Almaldus.
Sounds like old moldus. I have old mold syndrome. Moldus. Okay.
Stop.
Okay, torch on his backpack. The armor was edgier, with Thunderhawk blue, looking top down on the model to catch glare. Just waiting to pay to finally get some blizzard basing. Okay, done.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's going to be a good choice with the basing because Valhallan Blizzard is exactly as it sounds. It's a snow, right? And I have to say, stay away from Army Painter snow.
Well, why didn't you get that snow then?
Because it's a basing paste is what he's getting. So it won't have the same level of variance that it can be used for.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's take a look here, right? All right. I think Yeah, so right here, exact same comment as before.
This was the other guy that we commented on.
But it's not as much here. So the interior where he's got that colour come up there, right? I think that's fine. But I do think that, you know, it's a bit messy, right? A bit messy. Then next up, let's take a look. I think, is this the one which... Yeah, okay. So see how he's done this very sort of scratchy effect? Mm-hmm. I really like that.
Yeah, I do. I think like that texture a lot.
Yeah, I think that that's come up really well, especially with the color of the other side of the cloak coming out from underneath. I think that looks just so nice. Mm-hmm. I very much like it. Right, and when he was talking about the muzzle burn, which was... Hold up, it's next guy. I don't think it's come out as bad as he thinks it has.
It does look pretty good.
It looks fine. It works. There's nothing wrong with it. I do think that the swords, the power swords, look a bit of 90s classic heavy metal. They don't look like power swords. They just look like red swords.
Yeah.
But I mean,
if you want to have the glowing sword effect, then you have to sort of paint the area that so there's... Could I just borrow the mouse for a second?
Okay.
So you've got 3 lines in the sword: this edge, this middle edge, and the left edge. So you just want like just the inside portions of this part sort of orange, yellow, and then white, and that will create the glowing effect. Yeah. But you want to leave the edges red.
I think Duncan Rhodes has done some videos on it, and I think that they've come up really well. The videos, I think that they've come up quite understandable. I said come up quite well. I mean, what I mean to say is, when you see them, everything he says is coherent and cohesive, and it's very easy to learn the process.
Okay.
And so let's go through. Okay, so I still think that the tide marking, not good for you. Think that the flames have come across really well. I like the neat and tidiness of his markings here. I like, of course, all of his little pauldron markings. I think that it's obviously done a lot of work there with those sorts of things. I think that he's done well with the eyes. I think that's an area that he can step up. Oh yeah, like take a look at this guy's eyes. I like this guy's eyes, but if you take a look at the previous guy's eyes, they don't look as intense, whereas this guy's eyes, have a certain level of malice to them. And I like that.
Yeah.
I don't mind the bold highlighting here, but once again, with the bold highlighting, I think you can do a highlight within the highlight.
Yeah.
I think that this sword comes up a lot better than the other one. Let's see if we've got another angle. Like, even though it's not perfect, I think that, it's come across well. And I really like the cloak things.
But as you can see, the cloak, the orange highlight was a little too thick. It could have a lighter highlight inside it.
Yes.
But yeah.
So I think like you're doing a lot of things really well. But once again, it's just having some consistency with them. And that's pretty much it, man. I think that you're doing really well in so many areas. Like, take a look at this. See that with the darker marking there, right? It's got a heavier wash there, but it is not overpowering like the ones in your other cloaks, right?
And I think because those other ones are supposed to be the, what is it called? Purity seals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should have been a much brighter color as compared to your cloak, because that's kind of blending in.
That's true enough. Yeah, I'll agree with Sunny on that one. But let us move on. Like a salad.
A salad.
Salad is a creature from D&D. All right, you want to read out as I take a look through the images?
Okay, last pick before the review. Far less work done this week because I'm actually using my week off for adulting and learning learning Aeon Trespass. It's a tough learn, especially from an unsorted box. Sorry. It also takes up 3 tables in 2 rooms. Oh, okay. That's all the boxes and stuff. Okay.
Oh yeah. Like so he's got it sorted, like stuff sorted in one room, playing here on one room, and then like all of the cards sorted in another room for the map. Yeah, it does look to be a bit of a mess.
So yeah. It's a big project. Yes. Yeah. And not just for painting like I expected. Anyway, here's some new picks. Cars are the current project. I have 4 cars, green, red, white, and yellow, 4 street lights, and 4 crossing lights, and 4 dumpsters are now ready for varnishing. 4 dumpsters are now ready for varnishing. Oh, he repeated that line again. Tomorrow, I paint 1:1 scale stairs, fight a Termanos, and then paint the windows on the cars. I hope to have the cars done before I return to work on Monday.
All right, great. Well, I think that the cars look good. Like they look like cars.
They like the highlighting on the cars that he's done. Very realistic.
But yeah, like I think that the dumpsters look like dumpsters, except too clean. I think that you should add some
rust effect, a little bit of grime here and there.
Yeah. But I guess maybe because they're Marvel Crisis Protocol, like much costly prices. I think because it's that, they are very much like sort of going for the comic book sort of thing.
Yeah.
But these I just absolutely love. They're just spot on. Everything about them.
I love how you done the light inside. It really looks like that sort of like
old street lamp.
Old street lamp look, yeah.
Yeah, like all the grime and that's accumulated around there and all of that. Yeah.
I love it.
And like I like the gemstone effect with each of the lights. It's just perfect.
I think your terrain pieces are the star of the show for this set, Joseph.
Yeah, so I think you've done absolutely fantastic. All right, so we're up to the final post already.
Oh wow!
So, here's the thing: no article this week, but I do have a question for all of you. And there was something that I noticed with the responses, right? With the responses, it was... So I didn't vote until later on. But with the responses, what I noticed was it was a lot of the younger people who were voting for that and a lot of the older people who were voting for this, right? And I think that the reason is because a lot of people are used to... who are used to tabletop standard as sort of the generic term. Mm-hmm. They are going... I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of hand movements at the moment. They're like, oh no, tabletop's fine, right? But I think for some of the younger people, they feel like tabletop's used as a point of derision, as I said in the thing. And I like that James added arm length standard.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, he only got 6% likes.
Oh, I think it's just him. Yeah.
It's James Flanagan.
Yeah. But there was one comment here that from C.M. Williams, and he's like, game/battle parade display. The reason why I don't like parade is because that's too much in line with just Games Workshop.
Oh.
And like the thing is that I think for parade, a lot of people won't instantly get the idea of it, whereas I think a lot of people instantly get the idea of, for example, character level, right?
Yeah.
You're painting it as a character, right? And they get the idea that you're painting it up as a character. You're not trying to make like a showcase or display piece. I think display is good, but I think showcase is fine. I think all of it's good, right? But yeah, so I'm really appreciating the feedback, And hopefully throughout the week, you know, more people might reply, or this might be it. But what I want to say is, all of you guys, you know, we've had a bit of a thinner week this one, but guys, I have loved the community feedback in here. I've loved people's back and forth. Alan, you are a national treasure, and you know, I just think that everything that you've done and said is perfect. And what I've loved about this community is how we've all come together. I know that there are people in here who, if they ever, you know, broke one of the cardinal rules and the things, you know, almost immediately people would start having arguments. But because we're just hobbyists here, right? Everybody, no matter where you're from, no matter who you are, has gotten along.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that, you know, everybody here can see what people are saying. Like, Alan's come in, right? And Alan's very high standard, right? He's very hard on himself. But he's also very easy on other people. And I love that. I love that, you know, we've got people coming back and forth and just jovial comments and just everybody giving, you know...
Everyone is participating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really glad that we have the community that we do. And I want to thank each and every one of you. And I hope to see you all again. Oh, and one quick bit of housekeeping. We are seeing some success with our YouTube, but that does mean one thing. We are probably going to be moving our WAYPN reviews to a different channel so it doesn't bring down the views of the main channel. I'll still be posting it here. Everything will be the same. Don't worry.
It's just the review videos in particular will have their own channel.
Yeah.
But nothing will change as far as how people view them or anything like that. So yeah, that's all the updates we would like to give you.
Alright.
And the final test for the week is...
Did you keep those brushes wet?
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.